Hello, the following video is brought to you by Ivan Whelan, Global Head of Quality and Regulatory for GCE. We hope you find it informative. Do feel free to contact us using the email address below should you require any further information.
The topic for today is effective audit notes for compliance with ISO 13485-2016. So for effective audit notes, we want to understand the record requirements for each area audited. We want to ensure sufficient information is recorded for each area. And from that perspective, we have the objectives set. We have the requirements with respect to the standard ISO 13485-2016, specific to clause 824 for the internal audit process. And fundamentally, what we want to make sure is when you are continuing to do an audit, you have the clauses covered. So clauses 4 to 8 with respect to the areas being covered. They are clearly identified within your contemporaneous notes, but also in any template that you wish to use. You want to follow the main clauses and the processes. Consider the plan, do, check, act methodology as part of this to make sure that you go through all the way with respect to your quality management system. The area that is clearly identified where you're performing the audit with respect to facility or location within that factory itself. Process being audited, so what's going on in this location, virtually set up the scene with respect to your audit notes so that it can be clearly identified in a year to come should someone else be carrying out that audit for you. The process controls, so whether there's a procedure, make sure you have the document number, revision date, again for full traceability with respect to current status of the documentation within the quality management system that's being assessed as part of this. Or whether it's a work instruction, again, similar principle applies, or whether it's an undocumented procedure, so i.e. what you're witnessing within that audit itself could be a skill set being performed by an operator or another technician within the area itself. Also, the area that you're auditing and the process that you're auditing, you want to sample within that to be able to determine its effectiveness within the area, determine the number of samples being taken, statistically based off of a population of output, and also a justification around that sample size to justify your choice. And also then an area whether you're looking at the skills of the staff themselves. For that, whether they're new or whether they're existing or whether they're transferred, you want to be able to make sure you've recorded who was being interviewed where, what job title, and what part they played within that role. With respect to the evidence found, it's always with respect to what happened, what was witnessed, and to determine why it was relevant that it felt it needed to be recorded on the day as well. You need to make notes around conversational pieces with interviews with respect to what was said, again, who said it, but also making it relevant to the area being audited and why that was relevant for it to be recorded at that time. Anything around then what you witnessed or what you reviewed during that, as said, the document date revision, and as part of that evidence building. Ultimately, any area or process that you audit, you need to leave and finish with that with a conclusion. A conclusion must be drawn for part of this. You have to determine if it's effective or whether it's partially effective because you found maybe a minor nonconformity, or if it's not affected because there was a major nonconformity found within the area during being audited. There's no point in recording all the evidence and all the notes around this without drawing a conclusion, because reading the notes from either an external auditor's perspective or another auditor member within the internal organization, they cannot determine what and how that effectiveness was maintained or not if you don't draw a conclusion to that. So once again, to re-verify, the objective of this was to understand the record requirements for each area audited, ensure sufficient information is recorded for each area audited, the methodology, using a simple checklist to make sure that the clauses are covered, the area that is being audited, the processes that are being audited, the process controls that are in place, sampling of either parts or components, sampling of the staff to measure their levels of competency, and evidence found within that, and again, to re-emphasize the conclusion drawn from that internal audit. A simple conclusion here is that the general checklist would ensure sufficient information to record to maintain evidence of compliance with ISO 13485 auditing requirements.